Hi, Pet the Podcast Editor here. LinkedIn is the number one platform in the business world, full of CEOs, decision makers, and valuable connections for any professional field. Well, in today's episode, Dan takes a deep dive into one of the most thorough research articles on optimizing your LinkedIn presence.
I honestly think this is probably going to be one of the most value-adding episodes we've ever done because I've learned a huge amount from it, and in this podcast we're going to share the best bits from that in a nice consumable way for you.
Dan even reveals the one specific type of post that can more than double your LinkedIn reach.
Now, posting according to this report allows you to get 2.2 to 3.4 times more reach than a standard text-based post.
Now, before we dive in, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Adobe Express. Adobe Express allows you to quickly and easily create standout social graphics, logos, flyers, and more on web and mobile. Click the link in the description to try Adobe Express today. Right, let's jump in. This is episode 122 of the Business Anchors podcast.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
Dan, what advice have you got for people who want to get better results from the effort that they put into LinkedIn?
I have got a lot of advice, and this episode is going to be sharing all of that advice.
Good. Is it good advice or just lots? Are we going for quantity over quality?
No. Well, actually both. And the reason I honestly think this is probably going to be one of the most value-adding episodes we've ever done because
I think that becomes less impactful when we say at the start of every episode.
No, we don't say at the start of every episode though.
Okay.
I'm honestly saying this because Richard van der Blom, what a name by the way, recently did an incredibly comprehensive report, an algorithm report, analysed over 10,000 posts, and I've got some stats to share with you, but he's put together this 57-page report which has so many useful tips and advice on how you can improve your LinkedIn presence, grow more on LinkedIn, get more business from LinkedIn. I've learned a huge amount from it, and in this podcast we're going to share the best bits from that in a nice consumable way for you.
So this is going to be great for anyone who has any reason to want to improve their performance on LinkedIn, for clients, for themselves, for their business, or just to learn a bit.
Why are you doing a radio voice?
I just wanted to. I don't know, really. I just thought I would. Do you know what I like about this?
What?
Turning off the radio voice.
Yeah.
That it's data. It's a report based on data.
Yes.
There's so many people on LinkedIn and on the internet in general spouting.
You've never said that word in your life.
Just giving tips and tricks on how to grow social media followings and how to do better on social media platforms. And so much of it is just, we've tried this one thing and it worked once, so I'm going to tell you. Whereas this is actually backed by data, which I think is really useful, and it can help cut through the crap that's out there. Don't get me wrong, there's some really good advice online and about this kind of stuff, but cut through the stuff that's just based on opinion and it's actual factual data.
Do you know who I feel sorry for?
My wife?
Yep. And LinkedIn trainers. Because there's a lot of LinkedIn trainers out there that are charging thousands to give advice and consultancy that's worse than this, and this is free. And I've had a number of people commenting about this saying, I paid a LinkedIn person and this is way more valuable than that. So this is literally... The information is worth thousands, definitely.
Yeah. And it's, so we're putting this voice on again. We're finding this valuable information for you listeners, and we're getting it right into your ears and in your brain, free of charge.
Why are you doing that?
I don't know.
So just some stats, before we get into the key takeaways, just some quick stats about this report that's going to demonstrate to you that it is definitely worthwhile listening to the rest of this podcast. So this report took over 1,200 hours of work.
Who did that then?
This guy and his team.
Okay.
But that's mental, right?
Yeah.
Over 10,000 posts were analysed. It took nearly 4 months. The report itself, this was actually a few days ago, so it's probably more than this, but the report itself has been viewed more than 3 million times, over 4,000 comments on it, 12,000 likes. So
I mean, if you don't listen to this, you're at a disadvantage because everyone else knows it now.
Yeah, exactly. And I've painstakingly read through this report in detail and basically there's loads of great stuff in there, but picked out the bits that I think you anchors are really going to find useful and actionable. And we can go through those now.
Great. I'm sure the anchors will look forward to that. and so will I.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you for a useful addition.
Just
to this
adding
episode.
value to this episode. That's all I'm doing.
You're doing a really good job of being a filler right now.
Thank you. Filling those holes.
So the first piece of advice, Lloyd.
Yep.
And again, it's all based on data. Have you ever thought to yourself, what type of content should I post on LinkedIn to get the most reach?
I haven't, no, because I've got a life.
Okay, well, I do because I don't have a life.
I'm only joking. Of course I have, yes.
So there's lots of, and what would be my type of content? I'm talking about content format here. So for example, there's videos. You can post videos. You can post text-based posts. You can post text-based posts with an image. You can post polls, documents. There's all these different formats.
Lots of options.
Lots of options. So they've obviously analysed these 10,000 posts. Do you want to know what the top 4 posts are in terms of reach?
Yes.
So number 1, document posts. These are where you've probably seen them. Someone you'll see in your feed. It's like a sort of like a carousel. It looks like someone has an image and there's an arrow that you click and you go through a set of images basically. And that's when someone uploads a PDF document and it basically shows each page as kind of a slider. Now, posting documents, according to this report, allows you to get 2.2 to 3.4 times more reach than a standard text-based post. These are all
interesting. Why don't we do that in Alton then?
We are. I've already started testing this based on this report.
Right, okay.
I spoke about it in today's weekly meeting.
We're taking action.
Yes. So definitely, and an extra tip, there's tools like Adobe Express, the sponsor of this podcast, that you can use to really easily create these nice looking PDF. So for example, the one I tested this week, I actually did some screenshots of some tweets I'd done and made them look very pretty.
So if you wanted to try one of these posts for the first time, you could find the link around this podcast episode to sign up for Adobe Express, and you could have a go.
We didn't even mean to plug them there, but we have. Because, yeah, there you go.
Interesting.
Next one. So document posts, definitely start trying those. The next one, polls. Apparently, polls get 2.1 to 2.9 times more reach than a text-based post. Now, polls are slightly controversial because I don't know
How controversial do you think they are? Very, not very, or slightly?
Very. So polls are, I don't know if you've seen in your feed, Lloyd, but lots of people use polls and they just ask stupid questions that they know the answer to try and drive engagement. Like, what's your favourite colour? Like that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's that kind of thing, like, you know. But what I would recommend is actually try and do some market research to find answers to questions you actually want answering as a business. Like, for example, if you are looking at a new colour for your packaging for your food bar, why not ask your audience, like, do you prefer if it was this colour, or this colour? That would actually be useful. You're
What's
laughing
a food bar?
I meant like a
guy walked into a food bar. He said,
like
"What colour should I have for my packaging?"
You're like a granola kind of. What do you call them? Like a health bar sort of thing. You know, like there's those ones that are really crumbly as well. Those
cereal bars,
cereal bar.
like that.
Okay, thank you, cereal bar. Anyway, so definitely try and do some more polls, but make them useful. The third one, and this is new, carousel posts. This is a new type of post that you can create that gets 1.8 to 2.3 times more reach. And finally, the next one, top one, is text and multiple picture posts. So you get 1.2 to 1.6 times more reach. And I've definitely seen this myself when uploading a number of images. You can look at my recent LinkedIn activity if you want to see examples of how we do this. But yeah, they're the top 4.
Can I take this one step further for our anchors listening? Because you said like 3 million people look to this data.
Yes.
I want to give them even more of an advantage over all those people that have seen this.
Go for it.
So to use this data effectively, I'll see what you think of this, Dan. But I personally think you need to go one step further and think of 2 things. So how much time do these different types of posts take me? So if a certain type of post, by the way, I'm just using an example, don't take my word for this, but say a document post takes you 10 times the amount of time to create and it gets you 3 times the reach, maybe it's not a good thing for you to do, where everyone's going to be doing loads of document posts, but you're thinking, hang on, I could do 4 really good text posts in the time it takes to do that, and I'll get more reach. So that's one thing I just want to put out there, but I've got a bit of a caveat here.
Yes.
The other thing I think people should think about when they're looking at this data is how are these types of posts helping them achieve their goals or communicate what they need to for the business.
This is such a good point.
So you might have listened to my first thing about time and thought, well, I'm not going to do a document post then because it says it's going to get 2 to 3 times the reach, but it takes 10 times the time. But actually, if a document post helps you communicate what you need to your potential customers in a far better way than anything else, then not only do you have that better reach, but it's helping you achieve your goals and communicate what you need to. For example, I think you mentioned you were slightly negative about polls, which I kind of agree. A lot of people do this to try and get engagement. But if you're not being very clever or kind of authentic with the questions you're asking and communicating things that are important to your potential customers within those polls and questions, then actually they're potentially not helping you at all.
Exactly.
Even if you're getting loads more reach. If you're saying, what should I have for breakfast this morning? Rice Krispies or Cocoa Pops? Like, all you're communicating to your audience is,
I
like cereal and I spend my time on LinkedIn asking questions that don't add much value to anyone. Unless you're obviously like got a cereal company and you're then fine. So I would say the average marketer and the average person will look at this data and just think, okay, these are the type of posts I need to do. But if you think of the time you need to invest and actually how well you can communicate what you need to achieve your business and your marketing goals, you will be in the top 1% of the people creating LinkedIn content.
Yes, this is a really good point. This data that I'm sharing with you now in terms of type of post that you should be posting is based on reach. The other really important thing that you've said, Lloyd, is that reach doesn't necessarily just convert customers. Like a stupid poll isn't going to convert customers. But the interesting thing here, and someone commented on this, but video's not on here, Dan. What do you think about video not being on there? We literally create tons of videos.
Yeah.
Oh no, this means that we shouldn't make any videos on LinkedIn. No, videos are the most powerful way to communicate and trigger emotion in people, and triggering emotion gets people to take action. So like, definitely you should be including, my ultimate advice is try these different post types, but also try the other post types as well that aren't mentioned here, and don't just judge success on reach. Like, for example, we've produced case study videos where it's me sitting at a table talking through how we've generated millions of pounds of revenue in a campaign. They're not the most exciting of videos that everyone's commenting and going, oh my God, this is hilarious, tagging all their friends.
And reach isn't always great either on those.
And reach isn't always great because not everyone's engaging with it. But they're the kinds of videos where we get a message saying, I just watched your case study video. I work for X brand. I want to have a conversation with you about how you can do that for us.
Yeah.
So don't just judge this based on reach. Reach is important, but also is it helping you achieve your ultimate goal?
Because the reason at Knowlton we quite often outperform most other marketers and other agencies with content that we create for clients is because we don't just look at, oh, that gets more reach, do that. It's also thinking of the objective, what you're trying to achieve. And we've spoken before using this podcast as an example, as in, if you're listening to a 30-minute episode of this podcast, you're much more likely to become a customer of us or work with us in some way than if you read a poll and say, oh, I have Cocoa Pops for breakfast, even though you've engaged with that and you've engaged with our podcast. So it's that kind of depth of connection that you're getting. So yeah, I think this really helps you anchors get the most value from this report, of taking it to that next level and analysing this stuff.
Yeah. And this is another point of understanding data. When you're tracking your performance, don't just take the numbers you see in your report, whatever tool you use. We use a tool called Dash This for performance reporting. Don't just take that number as that's it. Oh, that number's higher than that number, so that's better. Like Lloyd said, a download of this podcast is, and someone, you guys listening to this for 20, 30, 40 minutes is way more valuable than 1 million people clicking on a poll on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I would say if you're working with a marketing agency or freelance or anything, and they're kind of showing you this massive reach because you're doing loads of polls and you're doing loads of carousel posts, look a bit further. If you're really happy with the results that you're actually trying to achieve,
your goal might be to just get more reach.
Yeah,
Lloyd,
and if that's the goal, then fine. But do look further than that. Sometimes, like Dan said, I would turn down millions of views on a post or at certain types of video, or millions of people saying have Cocoa Pops compared to something like 500 people watching one of our case study videos or the videos where we talk through how we work, because I know those people are interested in working with us, and we're communicating what we need to convince them to work with us and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think, like you said, using this data really cleverly really is going to put you above.
Give you an advantage.
Yeah.
So number 2, this is a short and sweet one, Lloyd.
Nice.
Hashtags. This is a question that I hear a lot when we go to marketing events and stuff. How many hashtags should I use? What should they be? What's a hashtag strategy? After analysing 10,000 posts, they realised that the optimum number of hashtags to use at the end of a LinkedIn post is 3 to 5. And also, they said in the report that using a combination of hashtags with a large number of followers and a smaller number of followers is a good idea. And what I mean by that is, if next time you see a hashtag on someone's post on LinkedIn, click on it, and you'll see that people can actually follow hashtags on LinkedIn to be served content in their feed that uses that hashtag. So if, for example, we use the hashtag marketing and there's 1 million people following that hashtag, there's an opportunity for us to get in front of 1 million people's feeds.
Without using paid advertising on LinkedIn, organically you can just get in front of some of those people.
But it's very competitive with hashtags with a large number of following. So they're saying try and test smaller followings as well, like maybe something more specific like social media marketing, or if you're an accountant, it could be like London accountants rather than using the hashtag accountants that probably has loads of followers. Try and test different ones.
Nice.
Number 3, so this is a really interesting one. Adding external links into your content. Now, it's been known for a long time that adding an external link in most social platforms to your post in the copy reduces the reach of that post. And the reason is these social platforms don't want you sending their valuable users that they want to stay on their platforms to other places. So the way they get around that is they make the posts where there's links in them reach less people and they perform worse. However, like we all know, we all want to send people to different places. Like most people do. Like, for example, us, if you're seeing this video clip on LinkedIn or somewhere, we want you to listen to this full podcast, and we have to link to the full podcast, which is hosted on our website. So you may be thinking, how can I add a link into a post with it having the least negative impact on reach? And there's 4 different approaches you can use, and I'm going to tell you which is the most effective. And there's some data around this which makes it even more interesting.
This is a simple one as well, as in we said before, there's these other things to consider here. I think with this one, all you need to consider, this is basically a tactic. It's doesn't affect anything else. It's all you need to think about is what gets you in front of most people or least people with these kind of tactics. So it's simple.
Yeah. So I'll do the 4 in the worst thing to do to the best thing, and the last one will be the thing you should be doing, but just to give you insight. So just simply adding a link into the copy of a post reduces the reach by 55 to 60%, which is a significant amount. So definitely don't do that. Just adding a link in and posting it. The next worst thing to do, does that make sense? Is to use a picture and add a clickable link. So you may have seen this now. It's a fairly new feature. When you have images and even videos you're uploading from your phone, there's an option to add a clickable link, which looks very similar to like a link sticker that you see on Instagram stories. Marketers, you'll know what I'm talking about. So it's just a clickable link on an image. This is fairly new. If you do that, that reduces reach by 25%. Still quite a lot. The third way, which we used to do this, is to add a link in the comments. So in the copy of your post, you'd say whatever you want to say about the video that you're posting or the post, and then say, if you want to see the full podcast or link to our website or link to our case study, click the link in the comments, and then you'd comment yourself on your post with the links.
Originally, that used to kind of get around the platform thing of looking for links, because it'd be like, oh no, it's just a comment. But now, obviously, not so much.
However, that did get annoying for people on LinkedIn, because when other people comment, that can get lost in the comments, and it's actually more challenging to find the link, and you're adding an extra difficult step for people to click the link. So that approach reduces reduces reach by 20%.
And which reduces risk?
None of them reduce risk.
Okay.
So this is the final one that you should be doing based on their research. So this final approach only reduces reach by 10%, which is actually not bad considering you're sending someone somewhere else. Now, what you do here
Easy for you to say.
is, tongue twister, is you post your LinkedIn post without adding any link. Post it, make it go live. brilliant. It's up there and it's on.
But how will we get people to somewhere we want them to go?
Well, what you do, Lloyd, is you wait 5 or so minutes so that the algorithm can do its thing. And then you go in and edit the post and add a link afterwards.
Oh.
So it's clever. So it sort of tricks the algorithm to thinking, this is a good post that hasn't got a link. I'm going to send it to loads of people. And then you go in and add the link.
So something with that, first people that see it,
yes,
there won't be a link there.
Yes.
But that's probably a minor inconvenience to get an overall better result. Yeah.
And I guess final piece of advice, again, take all of this with a pinch of salt. Try each of these different methods yourself and see what works best for you. And with any of this advice, try different things and see what works for you. But this is what they found analysing 10,000 posts that works best. Yeah. And this is what we're doing now.
And things can change in the future, but right now this gives you the best chances.
Next thing, number 4, is with your content, focus on quality and quantity.
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I've got some reasoning behind this, some data to back this up. So they found that when you post more than once within 18 hours, like your posting frequency, more than once within 18 hours, the average reach of each post can drop from 15 to 30%. So for example, if you were to post twice within 18 hours, each of those 2 posts, the average reach would drop 15% each. If you were to post 3 times within 18 hours, the average reach per post would drop by up to 30%.
So you're still getting more reach.
This
but
is the
obviously
point.
For the work you're putting in, you're getting less, if you know what I mean.
This is the point. So take that as you will. My sort of understanding of that and what I'm doing is I'm still posting more. Like now I'm probably posting 2 to 3 times every 18 hours because
show off.
Yeah, the combination of all of that reach is better than just posting once every 18 hours. And also, like we mentioned, Lloyd, there's more value than just the reach here. If you're posting a case study and then like an entertaining video that's going to get more reach and then something else, you're helping the different parts of your strategy rather than just...
I suppose the people that this makes most sense to think about is, say you're only going to post 3 or 4 times in a week, and maybe the way your schedule works and stuff, you tend to be like, you post them all in one day and then you don't post for a week. That you could change your strategy there and just go, okay, I'll write the posts, or I'll prepare them, and then actually I'll just take 5 minutes in the morning and post one daily, and that for the same amount of work you'd get a lot more reach there. So if you're posting minimal amount of times, but you kind of are doing it in short bursts, maybe you could change strategy there to get better reach.
Yes.
Okay.
And number 5, this is another important one, company pages. So traditionally, company pages have got significantly less reach than when posting on a personal profile. And this is still the case, right? However, this year, engagement on company pages grew by 15%.
Okay.
Now, in line with that, reach on company pages continues to decline. However, the percentage of people engaging with posts is increasing. So less people are seeing content from company pages, but more people are engaging.
Okay.
So I think there's an opportunity here, and we've started posting more on our company page. There's an opportunity to be creating more content on your company page to drive further engagement. And he set out 7 key content pillars that you should be focusing on. What?
I've got some data. 9 out of 10 times someone says pillars, it's really boring.
Well, okay. Well, I'll do it fairly quickly then.
Huh?
This is interesting, Lloyd.
Okay.
It's interesting to me, but I don't know. Maybe
just don't call them content pillars.
Okay.
Can we just call them?
Let's redo that. So this guy found 7 really good content, amazing styles. Amazing content styles.
Cool. Nice. I want to hear them now.
Yeah. So
the
first one, personal stories. And we've actually found this on our LinkedIn company page. We were literally talking about this morning in our weekly meeting.
Yeah.
We analyze our performance. When we post about company culture and talk about our amazing team and what's going on with the team, more people engage. And it kind of makes sense because if you think of other human beings on the platform, they like see a human being and they're like, oh, that looks interesting. I can relate to that.
Some people don't value these posts. Like, so we, the ones that are more like we had bakery roulette that we play in the office sometimes.
What's bakery roulette? Like, come on, you can't say it and not explain it.
You might want to take this on, guys. This is a real good tip for any business. Bakery roulette, I should really do it once a week. I do it about once every 2 months. But you say you've got 20 people in your office. You go to a bakery and you say, "Hello, lovely bakery person. Please give me a variety. Yes, baker or bake-ass." That's still a baker.
Bake ass. You're going to bake that ass.
Oh dear. So can I have 20 bakery items, please? So you might get 3 sausage rolls. You might get a couple of sandwiches. You might get a variety of different cakes. Bakewell tart. That's something we get sometimes. And then you all take a bag. All take a bakery item that's in a little paper bag that will be recycled.
Yep.
And you take a look at your item without letting anyone see, and then you choose to stick or twist. If you're sticking with your original item, you get out the circle. If you twist, then you stay in the circle and you pass your bakery item to the left and get past another one, have a look at it, and you continue this until everyone wants the item they've got. Obviously, if you're at the end, normally there's a couple of disappointed people that just no one else wants to play with them, and they've just got like a iced bun finger or something that like only costs 50p.
Yeah. I got a cheese roll last Friday, which is quite nice.
Which interesting, no one wanted, but Dan saw it as a win, so that's good. Anyway, so we had a video of our team playing bakery roulette. You might be thinking, why? What's that going to do that's good for my business? Because I don't want just showing people eating bakery items, but. Just I want to put this out there because I feel like people judge this type of content. So benefits. Recruitment for our business. People see our team are actually happy. We actually like being with each other and having fun. And so it's easier to attract new recruits to our business because it's actually a nice place to work and we're communicating that. Clients considering working with us, they actually see that we're nice, normal people. We'll be nice to work with. We're fun. Oh my God, we swap bakery items. We must be a right laugh. So it's all that type of thing that it's small things, but it's once you're posting several times a day like we do on different places, people are constantly getting hit with these little nuggets of information like, oh, they seem like genuine people. Oh, it looks fun there. Oh, they seem to like each other. Oh, they're smiling. Oh, they're gradually getting heavier while they eat more bakery items. All these little things to communicate. So
personal stories. The next one, thought leadership. You adding opinion on things that are going on in your industry. So I'll give you an example of how I did this last week, and it got over 20,000 views on LinkedIn. It did really well. The whole thing about Brewdog being the anti-sponsors of the Qatar World Cup. I did a post because everyone was talking about it, thinking about it. I did a post with my opinion on it, and it did really well. So there's a way of improving this even further. Yes, do thought leadership posts where you're commenting on things. If you can tie that in with something that's very relevant and timely, like things that are going on in the world right now, again, it adds another element of encouraging more people to engage with it because it's in other people's minds. Number 3, product service related content. Number 4, industry related content. Number 5, events. 6, employer branding. And 7, social responsibility. I guess what I did find slightly sort of odd about that final one, social responsibility, is don't just post stuff about social responsibility if it's not something you actually care that much about. Don't just like social responsibility washing where you're like, oh, this is a good topic, so we're going to say good stuff.
I think with all of this, it's that horrible word of authenticity. Like if you're thinking I've got to do some thought leadership, but actually you're not the sort of person that it really passionately like has an opinion on these things and stuff. I guess don't just think I have to do that. Right. Oh, events is one of them. I'll just make up an event. Yeah. Like, you've got to think what's actually relevant to you and that will perform better. Again, it's using this data to your advantage. So, okay, there's 7 different, not pillars because pillars are boring, but 7
amazing
content styles. 3 of them aren't relevant at all for the sort of stuff that we're doing, but 4 of them are. Let's focus on those. How can we make sure we have 1 of these type of posts every single week, or 1 every day, or 2 every day, depending on the size of your organization?
Can I give one bonus tip that I've started actioning this the last couple of weeks, and it's instantly improved the reach and engagement on all of my content. Once you there's a whole thing around posting content. That's a tiny part of your LinkedIn strategy. Proactive engagement, I'd say, is actually more important than your content strategy.
And there's never any reports on this, is there?
No.
Or like, guides to do this.
And what I mean by proactive engagement is you adding comments and starting conversations on other people's content in addition to replying to people on your own content.
Because you never see like analytics or data on this because it's in other people's analytics and data.
And so the clever thing about this, why this works, the way part of the way LinkedIn's algorithm works is it's trying to establish who on the platform you have some form of relationship with. I don't mean like dating relationship. I mean like some kind of connection with. And it's got millions of pieces of data it looks at for that. And, if it sees you commenting and going back and forth in conversation with other people on the platform, not just on comments on their posts, messages within like DM messages, they actually had some data in the report that showed that when you're messaging someone on the platform, the person you're messaging will see one of your latest posts in their newsfeed because it makes sense. LinkedIn's like, they're messaging each other. They must like to see each other's content in their feed, right? So something that I've started doing is before I post anything, I will go through my newsfeed and add 3 or 4 meaningful comments on other people's content that's relevant, that's to do with what I give a shit about, to do with marketing or business. And then I'll post my post, and then I'll probably add a few more comments on other people's content. Now, what that does is, think about this logically. Once I've posted something, LinkedIn's going to think, who should we show this to? Dan's actually having conversations with other people. What are you laughing at?
No, LinkedIn's voice. LinkedIn goes, Sorry.
You know what I mean?
Who should we post this to?
Exactly. LinkedIn's thinking, who should we share this with? Let's share it with the people who Dan or Lloyd or Knowlton as a company is interacting with already. And I'd probably say this is one of the biggest pieces of advice on the platform. If you want to grow on LinkedIn, engaging and proactively engaging with people who are your ideal customers, who are in your target market, is a really important thing to do.
I think that's something that's missed by 99% of people trying to achieve various objectives on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Definitely.
Nice.
One other final one. I won't go into all of the detail, but basically switch on LinkedIn creator mode because it's proven to enhance everything basically that you do on LinkedIn.
Can anyone do that?
Anyone can do that. And it's in your settings. There's a few like benefits you get from switching on creator mode. You can add a 30-second video as your profile picture. You get to display 5 different hashtags below your headline on your profile so people can see the type of topics you talk about, and it helps you get more reach. Instead of a connect button on your profile, it's turned into a follow button. Also, your profile's feature section is placed higher on your profile. And the activity section features your post instead of your engagement activity. There's a whole range of... and also something else which is really good. It enables you to create your own LinkedIn newsletter, which we do with the Friday Club, which is a weekly newsletter you can send. The really clever thing about this, no one really knows about this. When you create a LinkedIn newsletter, right? A LinkedIn newsletter is basically an article on LinkedIn that you say to LinkedIn, I'm going to create one of these a week or one of these a month. And you create that once a month and click send or publish. The first time you do this, every single one of your connections will get notified to say, Dan Knowlton has just published his first newsletter. Do you want to subscribe to this? So it's a way of getting in front of every single one of your connect. There's no other way you can do
this. It's like a cheat code to get a notification
for free.
Everyone, yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to end up being spammy and just sending a newsletter a day and pissing people off because then it'll be pointless because then they won't want to look at it. But yeah, that's just a huge LinkedIn hack that I recommend doing.
Great.
So yeah, final kind of call to action here that I really recommend you should all do. Go and look at the full 57-page report. It's how
would we find this?
So the easiest way to do this is to just search Richard van der Blom. So Richard Van, like a van that you drive, Der, D-E-R, Blom, B-L-O-M, and go on his profile and just scroll down to recent activity and you'll see his recent post where he shares this. I've also shared it on my profile as well. And if you honestly, this is the most comprehensive free LinkedIn guide that I've seen anywhere, and it's really worth looking at.
It's amazing that, and hopefully really useful to listeners, that this free resource, like you're saying, like this is much more valuable than loads of stuff that people sell for quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're considering like, go on this LinkedIn course or whatever, just make sure you do this first. Maybe afterwards you'll still think, oh no, this doesn't still look good, this course I'm going to go on. But you can learn so much from this for free.
I think a lot of people that will be creating LinkedIn courses will be using this to create it. So yeah, definitely go and check it out. I feel like I know a lot about LinkedIn because I spent my whole life there. I learned a huge amount from this 57-page report. So
thank you, Dick Van Blom.
No, Richard Van der
Blom.
So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. If you found this useful, or you think any of your colleagues or anyone at work or your family will find this useful, please do share the link.
I'm going to send it to Auntie Trisha.
She won't give a shit.
She hasn't even got a laptop.
But yeah, I guess we will see you in your ears next week.